Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Harry.
Now I'm Matthew, and behind us is a French SUV with room for the whole Tarmac family and their croissants.
That's right, this is the new 5008 that brings quirkiness straight from France to 7 seats in a mild hybrid form. Come on, let's have a look at this.
For those of you who know your Peugeots, you'll know that the 5008 was not always an SUV. In fact, it started off life in 2009 as, well, a 7-seater MPV van sort of hybrid thing. And then from the second generation onwards, once that SUV craze truly kicked in, it became an SUV. And now we have this third generation car that officially debuted overseas last year in 2024. And what Peugeot have done is not only change its styling and its appeal to become an SUV, but what they've done is also apply their design brush to it, because I mean, just look at this thing. As far as 7-seater SUVs go, they don't come much better looking than this. For starters, at the front, the old Peugeot logo of that lion, that's now gone, and it's replaced with this shield with, well, the lion is still there, of course. You've got the 5008 lettering on the front there, but as far as this goes, there's no nod to tell you that this is the hybrid model, because this generation car is also available as a plug-in hybrid and as a full EV as well. But this is, of course, the mild hybrid that we have here. A big signature that has become a part of the Peugeot brand more recently is, of course, this claw effect in terms of the headlights. And I mean, look at that. Particularly at night, these look really distinctive. You look at this and you know instantly it is a Peugeot. This car comes in the optional Auchenite white color, and if you're thinking, sacre bleu, where are my colors gone? It is also available in two beautiful blue colors. The Obsession Blue in particular is something to behold, I have to say. The wheels, these are the 19-inch Yari options, and they do look make quite a statement on this car. They are diamond cut as well, as you can see, and give a nice complement to that white and black or monochromatic look that this particular car is optioned with. The real party trick of the 5008 is, even though it's a 7-seater SUV, it's not massive. It doesn't need to be some kind of moving brick on wheels. It is styled exquisitely and somehow fits 7 people in there in a really sort of comfortable way, no matter which row you're in. And that's thanks to the way they've used the dimensions. So it measures in at just under 4.8 meters long. Width-wise, you're looking at about 1.89, round about there, and height-wise, it's something like 1.65 there or thereabouts in terms of height. So not bad at all in terms of dimensions, and in fact, more on the compact side for a 7-seater SUV like this. This being a 3-row 7-seater SUV, one thing that's really important is access to the back especially, and you have firstly these full length doors, which means that you don't scuff or dirty your trousers getting in and out, and then they open up nice and wide to give you good access to the middle row, and then of course when you fold these down, a good amount of space to get into that last row as well. That Peugeot Lion or the Claw, all of those styling cues continue with this sort of claw effect 3D LED taillights. I mean, they just look great at night, and again, so distinctively Peugeot with, of course, 5008. And as you walk around to that side, it tells you that this is the hybrid model. It does indeed have a kicker tailgate, and what that does is give you access to generous amounts of boot space. So you get something like 350 liters there or thereabouts with the third row up, and when you fold that third row down, that becomes about 916 liters. You can remove this shelf down here, and all of a sudden it exposes a really large cubby underneath, which then you can fold that third row upright as well to give you even more access to the depth underneath there. So it is packaged extremely well from that sense. And speaking of something that's also packaged extremely well, let's have a look at what's under the bonnet. I have to say that this car is styled to be unmistakably Peugeot, and under the bonnet, well, it's much the same story, although admittedly one I was not expecting to see in the front of a 7-seater SUV. So in the front of this 5008, we have Peugeot's famous 1.2 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged PureTech engine, and it's mated to a 48 volt mild hybrid system. You get 110 kilowatts of power, 230 newton meters of torque, And what that gives you is a 0 to 100 time of 11.3 seconds. So it's not impressive there. Well, it does well efficiency-wise with a claimed figure of 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and you do get a good carbon emissions rating as well of about 129 grams per kilometer. So it's quite friendly on the wallet and friendly on the planet from that perspective. Power is delivered to the front wheels through a 6-speed dual clutch transmission. But I have to say overall, there is that unique off-kilter note of the 3-cylinder engine, something that's really lovable about this particular powertrain. Speaking of things that are lovable, Happy Harry's inside, and he'll take you through what's going on in there.
Matt is way too kind, because what's actually lovable in here is this amazing interior. There is just so much to talk about. All the elements are really high up so that you feel very cocooned, and it makes for a very special place to be in. All the materials are really nice to touch and interact with. There is this mix between their imitation leather and the cloth that they use in different parts of the dashboard. Everything that you touch, the switch gear and everything, feels very well put together, and it feels like a very special place. Door pockets are of an average size, but they are felt lined, and then anything that won't fit in the door cards, you can actually use these cup holders here in the middle of the armrest that are at a perfect position. Really easy to access, they don't get in the way. Amazing, a masterclass in ergonomics. Then in front of it, you get this sort of a cubby that is not exactly a cubby until you open this damped door, and then it gives you access to quite a deep storage space with the 2 charging ports for your devices. But that's not all, because if you open the actual armrest in here, you then get access to even more storage that is actually quite deep. It goes underneath the cup holders, and it's even got access to your air conditioning so you can keep things warm or cooled. And the funky bits about the interior do not stop there, because yes, you do get this lovely cloth that goes from door card to door card, but then above that you get this interesting texture in here that, yes, it's plastic, but it's heavily relying on the ambient lighting that you get 8 colors to choose from, and it really makes for a really cool and interesting aspect of the interior as dusk comes about. So the car that we have here today is also fitted with the interior package, which, yes, is a $6,000 option, so it's not cheap, but what it does bring are these lovely AGR seats, and I cannot say enough good things about them. First of all, they look amazing. They bring this Napa leather that looks and feels super comfortable, and they are also heated and ventilated. They get memory, lumbar adjustment, and massage, and then the ones on the second row are also heated, so really elevates the comfort that you can get from a car like this, especially on the longer trips. And then talking about the second row, it is really comfortable as well. Of course, in this spec you get those lovely seats in there. One interesting thing is that both the second and the third row feel much higher than the first. It's almost like you were sitting on the shoulders of the people that are on the first row. You can basically see everything in front of you while you are sitting on the second row, and then the third is impressive in terms of the amount of space that you get. They are totally usable third rows. They don't feel like a compromise at all. And then to assist you in those longer trips, you get a very comprehensive suite of controls and ADAS and convenience features, all of them controlled via the steering wheel that you have here in front of you. In this GT package, it feels so small, very i-Cockpit, very Peugeot, and it again controls this time around this i-Cockpit, very wide implementation they did with the 21-inch screen in front of you, and there is so much to talk about them in here, so come with me and let's have a look at the tech. Alright, so just by looking at this view here, you can absolutely see what I mean with this wide view i-Cockpit. It is very much Peugeot, and I really like the implementation that they went with in here. To the point that you don't even see a heads-up display in there, because all the information is really at your line of sight, and in my specific driving position, it's almost like I cannot even reach for the controls in this screen up here. So the cool thing is that they have now introduced this i-Toggle that runs just underneath the air vents, and what it does is that it offers you individual panes that you can customize that will bring shortcuts that will change whatever is shown then in the screen in the middle. So right now you can see that it is showing the climate functions in there, and then of course I can go into specific things for the seats or even to control whatever is happening on the other rows. But then, for example, if I want to shift to my media, it's always here really easy, And I cannot stress enough how much this makes the interaction with the screen easier, so that you can always customize what you see in here. It's really easy to find, and the buttons being really big and easy to interact with, it sort of keeps most of the daily interaction with the car really close to your hand, and then especially complemented by the fact that media controls are actually physical, either here or on the steering wheel that we will cover in a bit. But also for climate, you get a few shortcuts always available to you in this strip that goes across the whole of the dashboard. On top of that, there is also a drive mode selector. That is this rocker button here that will flick between sport, normal, and eco. They change quite a few things in regards to the behavior of the car, but also what is shown on the screen, that is the actual cockpit that is shown in front of you. There are two other very helpful stock buttons that you can use here, one on each one of these lovely stocks that you get. The one on the left is the one that you will actually use to flick between the different views for the car. So think of them as the customization that you get for the cluster. One of them is very simple and will show the information sort of almost in a gauge-like kind of manner, but then you can go to other ones that will be more minimalistic, like this one that we have here right now, and then even go to one that is really funky and just pretty much overlays the whole of the navigation in front of you. Then by using the one on the right, it's basically for you to flick between different screens of your trip computer, so you will always be able to see the efficiency figures you're doing, average speed, and all those things. But then to take the driving to the next level, this is where you would use then this lovely steering wheel, so small, with these sort of a flat bottom and top, very Peugeot. And then on the left, you get everything to do with the adaptive cruise control and the speed limiter. Again, very European to have the mix of the two in here. And then on the other side is everything to do with your media. You can also access your voice control through here that will either bring the car's native solution for voice assistant, or if you hold, of course, it will bring your projection, because this car does have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. All in all, this is a really interesting interior. It feels very special, and it absolutely elevates this from the competition, from how special this place feels to be. And I think that there is no better way to put this to the test than go for a proper tour with this French car.
And there you would have heard that note of this 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. I mean, as far as engine notes go these days, how unmistakable is that noise as the roar of a, well, a PureTech turbo. And what an engine to power this 7-seater 5008. I still don't know how they've done it and how that idea came about of, yep, why don't we take our small little sort of turbocharged unit and throw it in our biggest car. How about that? Well, but I guess that's Peugeot for you, right? And it wouldn't be a proper Peugeot without its fair share of quirks and features.
Yeah, that's right. If you want some quirkiness, that is right from the get-go one for you. And at first it might feel a little bit like a head scratcher, but I'm sure that they study it enough to make sure that this was the right powertrain for the car. So yeah, what do we know?
Exactly. And I mean, mated with this mild hybrid edition in this particular car, it actually does really well, because when you set off, or as you come to kind of a stop or a standstill, you get the assistance of that mild hybrid powertrain, and it uses that to top up the battery and give you a boost when it needs to. Yes, the 0 to 100 sprint can be a little bit laborious, if we're honest. We have been just the two of us in the car, and it has taken its time to get up to motorway speeds, let's say. I can only imagine if you are loading this car up fully with 7 people, that it may just struggle a little bit. But as we're about to show you, once you get up to those motorway speeds, it's actually really comfortable, and it sits really well at those speeds, which is amazing, and what you want exactly from a 7-seater SUV like this. I mean, it's going to spend a lot of time on longer road trips. There we go, up to 100 now. A car like this is, let's be honest, going to spend a lot of time on longer family road trips. motorway journeys, all of that. So it needs to be comfortable in an environment like this. And I think it definitely is. It sits comfortably on the road. It's nice and quiet in here. Despite only having a 6-speaker audio system, the acoustics are quite good, I think, the way they've made it work. And then you've got all these soft touch materials that kind of add to that absorption of the noise and vibrations and all of that, giving it a good, comfortable ride, despite the fact that at lower speeds, I think the suspension setup is a bit on the firmer side. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that it drives very European, right? It has this sort of over-dampened kind of dynamic that I personally really like. I think that it translates a little bit of the personality of this car, and it feels like it is something that is properly designed for a life in Europe, right? It's not too big, it's not too laborious to drive. It feels like something that would do a road trip really well, of course, after you are up to speed. But once you remove this elephant out of the room, which is the fact that it might be a little bit underpowered, what is left is a car that really impressed both of us, right? It feels so refined. I really like the choices that they've made in terms of the materials and just this sort of lounge kind of idea that it has, that it is cocooned here with the cockpit that it has. There's a lot of cloth, interesting surfaces everywhere that you look. The ambient lighting at night does a really good job at elevating the impression of this being a nice car. I'm a big fan.
And you mentioned the European drive, and there's no denying the focus on handling with this, compact steering wheel that's typical Peugeot. You have to have it underneath the instrument cluster to be able to see rather than being able to see through the spoke of the wheel. But what it gives you is an almost, hot hatchback kind of handling feel. It is a very quick steering rack for an SUV of this size. It gives you sharp, direct handling. The direction changes are so quick, and it doesn't do badly in the way of body roll for a car that sits high up and has to carry these many people as well. I think from that sense, the handling is very impressive.
It really is. I think that it doesn't drive the size that it is. That's for sure. As you mentioned, the steering is really quick. And I think that when put together with this really interesting choice that they've made for the suspension that feels a little bit on the stiffer side but still very comfortable, it just creates a little bit of engagement that you don't necessarily expect from a car of this size.
The other thing to mention is the feeling of sportiness in here. Yes, this is the GT trim, which previously has been reserved for more sporty versions, I guess, of Peugeot's car, and in this it's more of a trim level rather than anything. But the fact that Peugeot have a racing team in the World Endurance Championship at the moment, the Peugeot Sport team, you can feel that in here as the driver. Despite the fact that this is a large SUV, the way you're cocooned in here with that i-Cockpit system wrapping around you, with this small steering wheel, with those heavily bolstered seats, it makes you feel a little bit sporty and a little bit racy. I have to say, I can't deny it that you. And if, in a particular setup, if you are going to sit nice and low with your legs extended out, you very much feel like you're in that sort of Le Mans race car environment as well Peugeot would want you to feel. I'm sure that was the intention behind this design.
Yeah, which again comes down to the intention that they've had with many of the choices here in the car, right? I really like the fact that they double down on the things that make Peugeot, right? And I think that the car is better for it because there are plenty of other 7-seaters in there that feel a little bit diluted. This is not the case in here because it feels like something different wherever you are. I covered it just before, the second and the third row. There is a lot of space, but still it manages to feel like something that is not a big thing out there on the road. And despite this super weird seating position, it is very comfortable in both rows. I could sit back there with no issues at all. And it just makes sense in a car that got packaging done just right.
And I have to say, overall, when you look at a Peugeot, the one thing that really endears people to it is the character, right? That's where the brand has championed their history, their appeal over the years, and I think they've done really well in a way with this 5008 to make a return to form to all of those aspects that made us love Peugeots. And this speaks exactly to that audience. I mean, it's styled so distinctively but so well. It looks the part for a 7-seater SUV, and then you get on the inside, and yes, a few things initially feel like they don't make sense. You know, the cluster in the middle, the center console for that matter. But then you kind of, once you get used to it, it really endears itself to you, and that's been part of Peugeot's appeal. And I think they've done so well to nail the brief on this car that it's true and true Peugeot. Outside, inside, styling, practicalities, all of that stuff. They've done an excellent job with this, and I actually really like it, in case you couldn't tell. So there you have it, the new Peugeot 5008 hybrid, or mild hybrid. And I have to say, off the bat, I actually do really like this car. It owns its Peugeot identity, its quirks, its uniqueness, styling, its appeal. It does all of that really well, while still not lacking any practicalities, being a 7-seater family SUV, plenty of storage space, and technology that works and looks great too.
Yeah, what a great summary, because that's exactly how I feel about it as well. It feels so special, but outside, yes, but inside even more so. With this quite expensive option about the seats, it just elevates the comfort that you can get. These AGR seats look and feel amazing. It has enough space for everything that you can throw at it. So smart storage solutions everywhere scattered around the car. And maybe don't let the 1.2 put you off, right? Like, test drive it and see how you feel. It doesn't feel underpowered, even though the sprint is a little bit longer to 100. But if you're not doing 7-seat duty all the time, it's a really, really great offering.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and also watch the show, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
And behind us is a...
With the two... We'll have to do it again.
Oh, did you disconnect the mic?
Yes, because of the B-roll.
There's the cough. There's the cough. All right, I'm getting my mojo back now that I've coughed.
Say a cup. What is happening?
Now, something that's also packaged extremely... Oh, you've done it English, man.
Holders that you are. English is hard. This is going to be the longest video ever.
10 times the charm.
Ooh, that's going to be hard to edit.